Hey Jason, aka Mouse Never Rebel News. I just saw, or I'm right now watching your video about the shooting at the Charlie newspaper in France. Your video is called just Suis, Charlie shooting, Charlie Hebdo, and yeah, I just wanted to comment on some things you said. The first thing I want to address is that you said the public is now blaming all Muslim people for this, and this is not actually true. Um, it is, however, true that the whole Islamic faith is criticized because the whole Islamic faith, in essence, has a violent side to it. In the Quran, 109 times you are told that you should kill non-believers. That's just a fact, you know. I've read through the Quran. I was given it for free by some Muslims who are giving out Qurans in the streets, and it's ass as fuck to read because it's written like shit. But still, there are all these accounts where in the Quran where you are told to kill people of a different faith. Now, of course, not all Muslims, or I should rather say, nearly all Muslims do not follow this rule. Most Muslims live a peaceful life, especially Muslims who live in the Western world. Still, the whole faith of Islam should be criticized for these points, and this is why it's not some. There's no offense of that, or there's nothing wrong with that. The whole faith has to be criticized if the faith promotes such a completely undemocratic and completely, you could even say fascist view. So then you go on to ask where this was when Anders Breivik went on a rampage and killed a lot of people. The thing is just that Anders Breivik did, Nazis were criticized for this, right-wingers were criticized for this. In Germany, where I live, which is why I have a shitty accent, I'm sorry for that, all the newspapers were now having satirical comics about Nazis. I show some in the video, I could cut it in. And it's not like there's a complete double standard now. The thing is just that in this occasion, a newspaper was attacked that publishes satirical comics. So it's a logical defense to now publish even more critical and satirical comics of Islam to show that such attacks don't lead to us stopping this critique and stopping the satire. Uh, if Andreas Breivik would have went into a leftist or immigration-friendly newspaper station and went on a rampage there, I'm pretty sure the reaction of the public would have been the same, but that's not the case. And then you also ask if the public blamed all Christian people for that. No, because the motivation of this attack, of Breivik's attack, was not coming from a Christian standpoint. It came from a national socialistic standpoint. It came from his right-wing political views. That's why right-wing political views were criticized, but his faith didn't play a role in this because he didn't kill because he was a Christian. He didn't kill because, let's say in Leviticus it says to stone homosexuals in the Bible. If you would have gone out in the street and shot homosexuals and said, "I do this because of my faith," then of course the Christian faith would have been criticized, just like the Catholic Church were criticized when all of these occasions came to public, where priests molested little children, especially little boys, and there were a huge recall of satirical comics about this, and the whole public and the whole media focused on this point. Just like now, it is focused on what the Islamic faith did. So it's not like Christianity is never criticized. Even today, as soon as you are among people who are critical of Catholicism and you say you are a Catholic, you always get comments um, criticizing the whole incident with the priest molesting the children. So then you go on to say that freedom of speech is not freedom of being criticized. Um, I agree with that, but I don't think that right now is the time to criticize this person. I mean, he was just brutally murdered together with other people just for artistically expressing what was on their mind. They were killed for this. And so maybe not now it's not the best time to criticize. Of course, I also think that a lot of the stuff they were publishing wasn't really something that was even funny. In some points, it was just stereotypical things over and over again, and yeah, a lot of dumb gay jokes and stuff like that. But still, uh, this right now is the time to let the people who were close to them mourn their deaths, and this is the time to look at what this killing was inspired by, and this killing was clearly inspired by fundamentalist Islamic views, and that's why we have to criticize fundamentalist Islamic views. And then you mentioned that the page was homophobic and sexist. As I said before, I don't agree with a lot of these things they said, but by all means, the paper was not homophobic or Islamophobic or sexist. It exterrogated their points as satire always does. I know you have your Tumblr Googles on, and that no special snowflake should be criticized for their lifestyle, and thus the criticizing of Islam is not okay. But that's the point of a satirical paper, to exterrogate problems and to so that they become openly viewable by people. If you say they are homophobic because they make jokes about gay, and thus saying that jokes about gay people are not okay because of that you hurt the honor of and the feelings of gay people, then you are basically censoring free speech, because this free speech may hurt people's feelings, but people's feelings do not stand above the notion of free speech. So if you I don't know, have the urge to tell everyone that gay people are, I don't know, whiny faggots, then you should rather be allowed to say that than be not allowed to say that because it's a homophobic statement. Of course, it's a homophobic statement, and this homophobic statement should be criticized. But the notion that this saying this, expressing this feeling, should not be allowed because it's homophobic is fascist. Yes, Charlie Hebdo himself was a scumbag. I agree with that. But nevertheless, their deaths should be mourned, and the reaction that's given from the public is completely justified, seeing as these people were wrongly murdered. I actually find it funny when you show the the pictures from the magazine. The first one where you see, I don't know, it's Muhammad himself, but it's an Islamic person kissing someone with a Charlie Hebdo t-shirt, and you say they're homophobic. You know, in this picture, they show themselves making peace through love with an Islamic person to further criticize the homophobic nature of Islam. Yes, Charlie Hebdo makes homophobic jokes, but they also make jokes about homophobic people in some occasions. They also make jokes about Nazis on some occasions. Yes, they sided with the Ukrainian new government, but that's just a narrative that's generally in our media, and most likely they are presenting it this way because they never came in contact with any other version of the of what actually happened in Ukraine. So then you go on to make the point with the whole thing that white people from a white satirical magazine do not have the right to not be criticized. This is not about criticizing them. This is about the fact that they were murdered for criticizing Islam by Islamic people. Nobody makes the notion that it's wrong to criticize these people. But the criticism of these people is not the center of the discussion. The center of the discussion is why these people were shot, which is because they criticized Islam. And this is why criticism of Islam has to continue. So then you say that the thing with the Twitter account pictures being changed to pictures that are mocking Islam is a direct racist response. The pictures are not changed to things that are mocking Islam because to mock Islam. They are changed to show that we are going on to criticize Islam, even though these attacks are carried out. That's the political message that's behind them. And let's say even if these things were put on to criticize Islam and to mock Islam itself, and not to show that we are not scared because of these attacks, then they should still not be banned. Criticism of Islam is justified. Islam is extremely repressive. Islam itself is extremely homophobic, and it's not homophobic in a way that they print pictures to mock homophobes like Charlie Hebdo do. What they do in Islamic countries is behead homosexuals. That's what they do in countries that are fundamentalist Islamic, and that's what they are told to do by the Quran. There are three passages in the Quran where basically homosexuality is condemned with the death sentence. Then you say all Muslims are attacked by this new change of pictures, and yes, all the complete Muslim faith is attacked by this, because the complete Muslim faith deserves to be criticized. Yes, we do the same thing if somebody shoots up an abortion clinic. Then we are critical of Christianity. And I'm no less critical of Christianity than I'm critical of Islam. Christianity is just as repressive as Islam is. Just because a big part of the Islamic people, a huge part of the Islamic people is living in countries that are currently occupied and destroyed, doesn't mean that we have to touch their belief system with that we are not allowed to criticize it. That's completely illogical. These people deserve just the same criticism for their idiotic beliefs as Christians do. We then ask if we blame all white people, but if Andreas Breivik killed 77 people. No, Anders Breivik didn't. Okay, he did it out of with the mindset of being white, starting the action. But he is he identifies as a national socialist. These Muslims identified as Muslims, as Islamic. If this leads to your action, if this leads to a terrorist action, this mindset that leads to it needs to be criticized. But the mindset of Breivik was not that he was white, because not everyone who's white is a national socialist. But everyone who's Islamic is Islamic. But not everyone who's Islamic is Islamic fundamentalist. That's true. Not everyone who's Islamic is violent, but the whole Islamic faith is violent in itself. It's just not carried out by everyone because not everyone seems to follow his religion 100%. But if every Muslim would follow his religion really 100% and do everything as it said in the Bible, in the Quran, I'm sorry, they would also be violent. Just like every Christian would be violent if he followed everything that stands in the Bible. If the Christian would follow everything that stands in the Bible, would have stonings of homosexuals every day, but they don't, and not all Muslims do. But still, Christianity is a belief system that says that homosexuals should be killed, and Quran is a belief system that says people who draw Muhammad should be killed. So Christianity is disgusting, and Islam is disgusting. And saying that, yeah, a lot of the Islamic people are oppressed and living in a really bad life situation so that we can exploit them. That does not mean that their belief system is free of criticism, as you yourself said that criticism should be criticized. The satire should be criticized of Charlie Hebdo. They are not free of criticism, and Islam is not free of criticism either. And Islam is not fun of being made about fun. Islam is not free of being made fun about either. Then you say the thing with do we now want all people, all white Christians, to come out and denounce something if one white Christian does something evil? I think it's funny that you always bring up the race, even though it's not even an issue here. We talk about the religion, but anyways, yes. When this horrible incident came out, where Catholic priests molested over years young children, yes, the media confronted the whole Catholic faith with it, and every Catholic person was who was in some open field, who was a prominent person, was asked about this, and everyone was confronted with this, because was something in relation to their belief system. It was Catholic priests doing this, so the whole of Catholicism was criticized for it, even though not everyone who is Catholic molests young children. And now we have the situation where Islamic extremists used violence against people who criticize them. So the whole faith of Islam should be criticized for this, and everyone who is Islamic should be confronted with this. This may even help in some way help these people lose their faith and see the world from another standpoint. Because in itself, I don't see why Islam is something that we should still hold in our modern society today. And same for Christianity and religions altogether. I think there is no place for believing in fantasy people anymore in the year of 2015. But still, of course, if someone is religious, it's his right to be religious, no matter if he's Islamic, or if he is Christian. But if you choose to be Islamic and choose to follow this belief system, you shouldn't cry about this belief system being criticized if this belief system promotes something like stoning homosexuals. Mocking Islam and mocking Muhammad is always appropriate, because Islam is always an inherent violent worldview. It may not be carried out that way, but it's like saying, well, not every neo-Nazi attacks Jews on streets, and not every neo-Nazi burns down the homes that are built for people coming to countries who are waiting to be applied and get a green card. Not every neo-Nazi is doing that, so why should we criticize neo-Nazis in general for that? There are, of course, neo-Nazis who are peaceful, so It's just completely, yeah, ideologic to criticize all neo-Nazis for something that some neo-Nazis did. No, neo-Nazis as a whole have a neo-nationalistic worldview that says to them that certain types of people are less worth than them. And all neo-Nazis have to be criticized for that. And all Muslims follow the faith that says that homosexuals should be killed. And that people who criticize Muhammad and draw Muhammad should be killed. And all Muslims should be confronted with that. And all Muslims should be criticized for that. And all Christians follow a belief system that says that homosexuals should be killed. And all Christians should be criticized for that. And all Christians should be confronted with that. And all Christians should be mocked for that. And the whole of Christianity should be mocked for that. As well as the whole of Islam should be mocked for that. And the whole of National Socialism should be mocked for that. The way your next argument is that because many Islamic people are oppressed, you should not criticize their faith. It's that there's no logic in it. These people are living oppressed by us, and that has to stop. And this oppression should be criticized, but that does not change the primitive nature of their religious view in any bit. And this primitive nature of their religious view should still be ridiculed and made fun of, because it's just ridiculous. And how can you in modern day say, well, yeah, maybe this this kind of people, this kind of people is not even true. This group of people, they follow a belief system that says, oh, criticism of our prophet, people who criticize our prophet should be killed. Well, but you know, these people are mostly oppressed by other powers, so we should really not criticize them for their faith, because, you know, they're poor, oppressed people. That's not how it works. That's not how freedom of speech works. That's maybe how freedom of speech works on Tumblr, where every little special group has to be looked at and is not allowed to be criticized. No, this is ridiculous. This belief is ridiculous and should be criticized. The Islamic faith, as I said before, should always be criticized, because the Islamic faith is worthy of criticism. The whole faith, even before this attack, I took part in things like Burn Quran Day, and I debated openly on internet platforms against Islam and mocking Islam, because Islam is a ridiculous belief system that deserves to be mocked and ridiculed. So then you claim that that this people should be attacked. No, Muslims should not be attacked. The Muslim faith should be attacked. We should not go out and now take like bloody revenge and shoot down Muslims. That's nobody says that. Or maybe extreme nationalists say that, but they said it even before this. Nobody in the public media, in the conservative media, in the mass media is saying, well, I think we should now go out and as a revenge kill Muslims. We are talking in an echo chamber with a straw man. We are now saying that the Islamic faith should be criticized, and it should have been even criticized before that. It's just worthy of criticism. And that's why this criticism should not be carried out, because they did something to us. This criticism is now only becoming in the eye of the big public, is now only getting into the eye of the big public, because this acts of violence against people happen to criticize Islam. That's why there's now a public focus on this. But even before that, Islam should have been criticized. And you also always push the idea that only a fundamentalist group did this. And as I said before, this is true. Not all Muslims did this, not all Muslims do this, and not all Muslims are ready to do this, not all Muslims want to do this. Many Muslims are peaceful. But their faith inherently has non-peaceful and aggressive and repressive aspects. So the whole faith should be criticized. And we can't, if you are killed for criticizing something, in a country where freedom of speech should be guaranteed, it's a completely rational reaction to go on with criticizing the matter that was criticized and the people killed for even more. Because not only do you show that this means of terror have no use, you also show that with every time this is tried, the criticism grows. And yes, the next thing you say, it's far more complicated than this, and it is far more complicated than this. But no matter the situation, no matter the people who did it, if they did it for the reason that they believed in the Islamic faith should be criticized, because the Islamic faith calls for this. Not everyone is following this, but the Islamic faith calls for this to happen. So the Islamic faith should be criticized for this. Free speech is not free of the criticism as a response of this free speech. And free religious belief is not free of criticism of this belief. If you say, I believe in the goat god who created everything, and goat god says women are shit and women are worthless, and you say that from the position of being someone who lives in a third world and being oppressed, saying that, okay, well, yeah, he's an oppressed person, so we should not criticize his belief, is completely wrong. The belief is wrong. The belief is inherently something that's repressive, and the belief should be criticized. You can't just say, oh, this poor person lives in the third world. Yes, he lives in the third world, and our society is benefiting of his exploitation. This is also something that should be criticized, and it's also something that's not okay. This is not something that we should in some way promote and take as something good that's happening. But this does not mean this person is free of criticism, especially not religious criticism. That's completely ridiculous. And then you say something that's basically refuting your own argument. You are saying that these Charlie Hebdo is victim of an killing that's not justified. Yes, but does not make them free of the criticism of their homophobic and sexist worldview, as you call it. Well, the people, the Islamic people, are for most part oppressed and unnecessarily killed. Yes, but does not make them free of the criticism of their homophobic and fascist religion. And then you make a point that I actually agree with, and I think I have a very different view on this. You say that if brown Muslim people would come to a white Christian country like France, and made a satirical newspaper that showed like stereotypes of white people and making fun of white people and making fun of Christians. Yes, I agree with this point completely. And it becomes clear that narratives still exist in our society. But I think that this is something that we really miss. We really miss newspapers in the West, or a satirical point of view in the West from people that are outside of our mass group criticizing this mass. For example, as you said, a newspaper of brown people that makes fun of white people. I would love to see something like that. And I think your point is here completely valid. But on the other hand, wouldn't this newspaper by these black people also be racist? Of course it would be racist. And if we would just change world history and let's say that not the Europeans went savaging over the world and enslaving every other race, but the Africans did. And this would be the other way around. And African newspaper would make fun of white people who are in this parallel world, living in the third world and being oppressed. You would make the same point, but now, and say that white people should make a satirical a satirical newspaper that exaggerates and shows problems by showing exaggerated depictions of racist stereotypes about white people. It should happen anyway. We should have satirical humor using racist depictions of white people to exterrogate it, show problems that we have with white people. But we also should have white newspapers. Well, the race doesn't even make a difference here. We also should have newspapers that are criticizing brown people. Not criticizing brown people. It's not like you can really criticize a race altogether on on some standpoint, but making fun of these people's racist stereotypes and criticizing their beliefs. Then you make the point of the Israelis carrying out a crime. And I find this very funny, because you say that Muslims should not be criticized because they are oppressed for the most part. Jews are not criticized because they were oppressed and because there are this racist notions against Jews. That's why Jews, or the Israelis, the Israel state, is not criticized that much in our media. It's because they are oppressed. But still, you say that we should not go out and criticize Islam because most Islamic people are oppressed. You yourself use a double standard to justify this. So it's not like the criticism of Islam now is not justified. It's just that the criticism of the forces that also carried out attacks on freedom of speech from the West on third worldist and third worldist sympathizers was missing. But you go out and criticize the criticism of Muslims, even though that criticism is completely justified. It's only that the criticism of the first worldist is missing. So yeah, in the end I want to make the point, the criticism of Islam for being repressive and for being against freedom of speech is valid, is justified. It's only that the criticism of the first world forces that are working against the freedom of speech, that is missing. And we need both in the same amount. You can't just say because Islamic people are oppressed, there's no way to criticize their faith. Both the Islamic faith and the Christian faith should be criticized in the same way, because they have the same problems. So this is it. I hope I didn't ramble too much ununderstandable shit, and you probably heard that I'm not really talking English fluently. I'm from Germany, and I taught English myself for the most part. We have some English in school, but if you hear some Germans speak English, it's even worse than mine, so I hope you understand what I said. And I just wanted to say that this is not really a criticism of your whole work. I just found it very strange that in this particular video it seemed that you called for stopping to criticize Islam and stopping to mock Islam with satire depictions, but in the end then turning around and saying we should criticize the first world for their attacks on free speech, and we should criticize Christians for what they have done, and we should criticize nationalists for their behavior. all these behaviors are based on worldviews, religious views, ideologies, and they should be criticized for this lack of free speech in the same amount.